We have on Zoom, we have Rob.
I'm sorry?
On Zoom, we have Rob, Holly,
Early December, I don't remember the date.
He's here.
and Holly, and John.
I'm here. And Rob here.
No, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Next board meeting after this.
December, yeah, early December. Reorganization. I think it's the,
But that's
The
that's
first
the only
Tuesday
thing
in
we can do
December.
is that reorganization.
unless we advertise it, the 3rd, December 3rd. Yeah. It'll be the 17th.
I can't hear anything that's happening.
Yeah, me neither.
So we don't have Lori coming tonight, or we don't know? Lori?
As far as I know.
Okay. Okay. No, I have 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any comments, any public comments on the agenda items?
I don't think anybody on Zoom can hear.
Is mine on?
Yeah, I can't hear. I literally can't hear anything at all that's being said unless it's being said by somebody on Zoom.
We have any public comments on agenda items? Is that working?
Can you guys hear that?
I can hear you, Heather, now, but that's it.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No.
Going with no. Just mic. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Can you hear now?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay, so I have my mic on, and I'll leave it on unless we start getting feedback. Okay.
Do we have any public comments on agenda items? Okay, I don't see any. Enrollments in your packet on pages 6 to 8. Item 5, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a
Second.
second. Do you have a second? Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Arnold? They can't take it.
Holly? Okay, so, okay, we'll do roll call this way. Holly Arnold,
Yes.
John Burke,
Yes.
Rob Perry,
Yeah.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Dr. Cavola,
Yes.
Mr. Scully,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Farr.
Yes. Okay, business and finance reports. Items 1 through 6.
Motion to approve 1 through 6.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion, comments, questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yeah.
Mrs. Arnold,
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Dr. Cavola,
Yes.
Mr. Scully,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
No.
Mr. Farr.
Yes. Okay. Superintendent's report?
looking for approval under the superintendent's report of items 1 through 7 on the regular agenda, items 1 and 2 on the supplemental agenda.
I have a question. Can I ask first, or do we have
The
to?
motion first.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
The second?
Second it.
Okay, discussion.
So my question is, the PIAA met today about the sports seasons and extracurricular coaching activities and things. My understanding is they did not pull the plug. Our conferences, the first seasons are December 16th. We don't know if we're going to have a season. We're assuming we are going to have a season. So I just bring that up to the board's attention. I know we've got coaches' stipends on here, and I know in the, was it the summer? We kind of tabled some of that. My understanding was until we had more of a definitive answer. So I'm just bringing that up for the board's consideration. I would assume that if we did approve and the seasons gets canceled, what would we do would we stop the stipends, stop the?
Yeah, that was the reason that we worded it this way. It was contingent on our ability to complete the sports season.
Okay, so if they go into the sports season and then it stops, or let's just say we get a few weeks in,
Right.
and it's prorated, I would assume.
Yes.
Okay.
And my understanding, Bill, is that it's paid, and Shane, correct me if I'm wrong, is it paid 4 times during the season or 2?
I would have to go back and ask Linda to see exactly what that pay is, but I do think that we had the flexibility to do some portion of it
Okay.
in the event that the season was not able to be completed.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Holly Arnold.
Yes.
Rob Perry.
Yes.
John Burke.
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory? Yes. Dr. Cabot?
Yes.
Mr. Swilling?
Yes.
Mr. Weiner?
Yes.
Superintendent's report?
What is it?
Superintendent's report and supplemental?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I don't believe we had any committees met.
I don't believe so either, but let me just check. Shane, did we have any committees that met since our last board meeting, which was on October 28th? So we did have a transportation committee meeting on November 2nd.
Okay. Would Shane be able to give us a report?
Shane?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. At the Transportation Committee meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, so at the Transportation Committee meeting, we met with the contractors and discussed some of their concerns regarding the ongoing plans for the school district for whether or not we will be in or out of session and what the determination would be for payment. The committee members agreed that there were some items that they would be willing to take back for discussion. We've not had an opportunity to review the specific requests that were made. Mr. Perry was there at that meeting, and as the committee chairperson, we'll be sharing some of those ideas with the group as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Should we go on to unfinished business?
So I do have some updated data for you to look at in terms of what it is that prompted us to close school on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then effectively prompted me to close school on Thursday and Friday. So this is the Department of Health's early warning monitoring system. This is updated every Friday. So I've been showing you this the last 3 board meetings. You can see that there's an uptick in our percent positivity and also the incidence rate per 100,000. PDE uses that, then in turn, those two numbers to suggest to districts when it is that they should go to remote learning. And we are now in our third week of being in that substantial category. And when a community is in the substantial category, PDE recommends full remote. At the time that we decided to move ahead with our plan, we had no cases. And so this board carefully considered, do we keep the doors open or do we close them now? And at the time, when we decided to stick with our plan, we had no cases in the school. You can see I plugged in Wyoming County's numbers from the last chart so you can see just how far over 100 we are and how far over 10% we are. So locally, Jean was kind enough to share the numbers with me, and this was as of today. We had 344 cases in the county. 105 of them can be traced to long-term care facilities, and so that means there's 239 cases of community spread.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify, these are current cases or total since?
Total, yes.
So,
Total as of today.
but since March,
Yes.
not all those people currently have?
No.
Okay.
No. But I will tell you that on October 1st, that number, that 344 number, was 71. So if that gives you any perspective as far as, okay. All right. So Jean also shared with me, we had 24 cases yesterday, we had 8 cases today that were identified. So to date, and this has just happened, like in the last, literally this week. We've identified 7 positive cases. 2 of those cases are children. That was new today. And 5 of those cases are adults. It has touched all 4 of our buildings at some point. Now, this slide, I cannot emphasize enough. These are the ones we know of just in the last couple days, okay? So we had 13 people come back to us and say, look, we've had a negative test. That's great. That's great news. We know that we have 8 staff that we know of that are awaiting test results, and we have 4 kids that we know of. Those numbers could be much, much higher, and we just simply haven't been told. So I need you to understand that there's no accuracy there. It's just what we know. It's not... It's only the ones that we're waiting on. John had asked me to try to share with you, as community members and as the board members, the steps that we are taking once we are notified that we have a case, a positive case. So there is a rapid response notification. That's me calling the IU, who then calls Harrisburg. So that has to be done. Then we do a DOH, a Department of Health notification. Now at this point, we may not know all the contacts. We're gathering that information, but we make sure that we report the positive to the Department of Health and our first contact with them. But we may be on the phone with them 8 or 10 times a day. So then we do our contact tracing questions. So we have a list of questions, and the nurses do this, and they call up the person that had the positive test, and they go run through all of these questions. So we're asking everybody the same questions. We're trying to gather this consistent data. Then we gather up the classroom rosters and the kids' schedules. And at the high school, a kid could be in 6 different sections with multiple kids. I showed you that last time, like how that contact tracing would work if we were not able to do social distancing. We look at the bus rosters and the seating charts on the bus rosters, and then we have to go back to the bus driver and we have to validate that those, in fact, none of those seats have changed, right? That this is exactly where kids are sitting. And in some cases, kids ride 2 different buses because it may be a custody issue. So I hope you're getting the sense of how big and vast and complicated this is. Then we call all the close contacts from the classroom and the bus, and we talk to their parents and we notify their parents that your child has been identified as a close contact. And these are the steps that you need to take. At that point, we know who the close contacts are. We've identified them all. Now, folks, at this point, we're 6 hours into this process, at least 6 hours. And this is a team of 6 people who are on the phone constantly calling out and reaching out, okay? So I just need you to understand that this is extremely complex. We then have all the close contacts, so there's a form that we fill out and we submit that to the Department of Health. It's a line tracing form. So we submit all of the close contacts that we've identified to the Department of Health. Now, they're only school contacts, right? So we don't ask, what did Johnny do on the weekend, right? We're just looking at school. We communicate to parents of potential exposures. So your child was on the bus or in the room, but was not identified as a close contact. And a close contact is less than 6 feet for a cumulative of 15 minutes. Cumulative, not consecutive. So your kid was in the room, or your kid sat in the back of the bus. Even though this kid was at the front of the bus, we're still going to call you, and we're still going to say, hey, watch for symptoms. And there is also a letter that goes out that the Department of Health sends out. But we always make the phone call because we want parents to be taking precautions as quickly as possible. Then we notify early intervention, Head Start, and HANDS. We did that tonight because we were closing all the buildings for the next 2 days. We notify Kelly Services so that they can notify our subs. We notify John Shapolsky so he can put into a plan the cleaning protocols that we need. Where did this take place? Where was the child in the building? We notify then the board members, and then I do the all-call. So those are all the steps that go into place every single time we identify a child or a staff member with a positive test. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have beyond that. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm getting a lot of questions coming into the office of people who are near or around or worried about their child, even though they aren't in the same class or such. My worry locally is because of the compounding of cases or test volume, test material is expressed. So you guys reach out to parents, are you telling them, I mean, obviously you're telling them that they've been around something because of COVID.
Right.
Are you making a distinction to say that they are in close contact and require testing?
Yeah, we are making that distinction. We identify your child as a close contact or just a possible exposure. So we're not saying take your kid and get them tested if you're a possible exposure. We're saying watch your child for symptoms. Just be vigilant.
Okay, so you don't need them to be tested to go to school, or they're not considered a high-risk exposure.
A close contact would be asked to quarantine for 14 days. Okay? Not just a kid that was in the same room.
Okay.
So
I'm just trying to figure out how to utilize the test as the cases expand well versus figuring out what we really should be testing if we really just test all.
Yeah, that's a very good question, but we are making that distinction.
So can I just interject, Dan, Dr. Williams? You're in the community, you're testing sick patients, correct?
Yeah.
So if there's a clinical suspicion, they come to your office, you're going to test them. That's your decision. Okay. So my understanding, Heather, is that we're not recommending that the student get tested to come back in if they're a close contact, because that's up to their physician.
Yes.
Dan, I think that maybe you were asking that question. We want to clarify that. And Dr. Williams, one more. If they test negative on day 5, they're still going to be quarantined.
Yes.
So I think parents have to understand that. They can't just go out and get a negative test and then say, my kid's cleared, he can come back or she can come back. And I think that's important for the community to know.
That is true. And also, if you can't isolate that child, the person at home, and they're considered a household contact, your timing of isolation for a household contact will be longer.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
you kind of get into a situation where people are trying to test where they are. They have a potential extend longer to a just attendance.
Right.
Get requests for testing, and, because of the what is entailed to the degree of the quarantine.
Okay. Yep.
There's a question back there, Phil.
Yes, sir.
I hear a lot of unknowns. I hear a lot of what ifs. It could be, it could not be, based on human error, whether it's a doctor, physician, whatever it is. These are our children in our community. It's obvious it has gotten worse. Error on the side of caution, like I believe our superintendent is. Support it, because nobody truly knows. There's data that says one thing, there's data that says the other. There's Harvard and Yale data that says kids, yeah, they're not super spreaders, quote unquote, but they're experiencing very major organ issues months later. And this is out there. This is not all the data. All the data is very scattered. You can find data that fits any agenda. But at the end of the day, these are our children. This is our community. These are our families. And I didn't want to even come here tonight to be around other people, but I did comment on the YouTube channel, and unfortunately it wouldn't go through that I wanted to comment. So luckily I live less than a quarter of a mile away. I could sit down. You guys want us to listen to medical professionals. Yes, medical professionals do not fully know. But the teachers are in the trenches. Listen to the teachers, listen to the medical professionals, listen to those that are around this as much as possible. I listen to the nurses, I can listen to the doctors, and there is something freaky about all this. I highly suggest, on behalf of the majority of those with some common sense, to let's keep our distance, see what happens with all the holidays coming up. What is a few more weeks? I know I do not want to be out of school. I would love more than anything to be in front of my children, in front of my students, teaching this, that, and everything else. But at the end of the day, we truly need to look out for the unknown, and this is truly the unknown.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
No. So that's what the board needs to decide tonight. What are the next steps? They've given me the authority to make short-term decisions, but we need to decide what they think is best moving into next week. So personally, my recommendation would be, if you're asking for it, maybe you're not asking for it, but my recommendation would be that we close next week, we get through the Thanksgiving holiday, and we reassess and look at numbers. That would give us about 14 days out.
So if I may, because aren't I on that committee, Heather? Did I get to say something?
You what?
I'm on the COVID committee.
Yeah, you can always say something.
I did speak to Heather, and I believe what I've said in the past is we are going to watch the data that comes within our community, our buildings, our TASD buildings. I think we are seeing right now, obviously, not favorable numbers in our building. And I would agree with Heather that I think it's a good idea to consider going virtual at least until December. I believe it's 1st, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, because aren't we off Monday?
Yes.
So that will give us 14 days from the time that we identified in-school contact. Now, that being said, I believe it's extremely important that we try to keep the kids in school. But this 2-week breather, I believe, is going to give us time to gather more data, see what happens within our school community. but I want to be able to say that I believe psychologically for mental health, what these teachers and adults and kids do in these buildings is a lot safer than what's out in the community. My 2 cents is that I believe that it's the community where it's spread. It is not within our school district. However, that being said, we still as a board have to be safe. I appreciate what Nolan is saying. I will say that I believe there's the mental health issue that I have personally seen in my family when my family was quarantined and my kids were away from school, the anxiety, the depression, the data is very clear on that. And I also say that the schools, the public schools, are a lot safer when parents let their kids get together with their friends. They're not wearing masks. If you go over to the Moose Lodge, they're not wearing masks. When you go to other places in the community, there's a lot more interaction out there. I believe we practice very, very safe mitigation efforts with the social distancing, the masks that we currently, and as you all remember, we had multiple meetings about that. I believe that the current practices in the school district have made a difference. But I would agree with Heather that taking this 2-week breather is probably the best idea that we can have. So virtual until that Tuesday. And we get the data and we take a look at it. That's my 2 cents.
I would love to see the children back in school and doing it, and I agree with Bill. But I wholeheartedly agree that maybe we need a 2-week break. And keep them out until at least the 2nd of December.
Thank you.
Okay, so is it my turn now? I agree. And I mean, I agree with what Bill is saying and the mental stability of the kids, but I think we have to look at it both directions now because they also know that it's within our building and we don't want kids to be, and I don't want to use the word scared, but maybe nervous is a better word, about coming to school and potential spread within the school and within their home. So, I mean, I think the right thing to do at this point, we've done the best that I think most have done with the masking orders and our guidelines within our school and keeping everybody safe. And we kept the strict mask orders in the beginning, that I think this is the right thing to do for our kids right now is to keep them home, at least until the Tuesday after.
I can't really hear anything, so I'm not sure when the time to ask a question is. But is it now?
Yeah, Holly, I'm sorry. I was trying to move around so that...
My question was, has any of the contact tracing that's been done so far shown that it's being transferred around from person to person in the buildings?
So that's sorry. Can you hear me? Holly, can you hear me?
Kind of, yes.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to move around so that you guys are not, so it's not causing a lot of feedback. So I can't say. I don't know.
The closer you are to Mary Jean, or have Mary Jean mute and have yours be the active one.
Okay. Is that better? Is that better? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I can't say that. Once you start contact tracing, what you quickly understand is you just don't know. You just don't know. So I can't answer that question with any certainty.
Have they been clustered, I guess, is more like my question. Like, is it happening when we're getting these cases, are they happening like 5 in a classroom?
No, not to this date. I'm trying to, that's accurate, right? Yeah, not to this date.
Would it be a while before?
So it sounds to me like what's happening, like I think what Dr. Perbola said was that we're having community spread, and we have, I don't want to say sacrifice because that's not the right term, but I'm losing the correct term at this time of the night. But we made accommodations that not everybody was thrilled about, but the whole point of doing so, the whole point of not bringing kids back more days, the whole point of being specific with masks was to keep kids in and follow our plan to the best of our ability. And my belief has been, and it still stands, that as long as we're not seeing clusters where it's spreading in school,
because we can't affect what's happening outside of school. But if it's not spreading in school, then we deal with these cases that are coming in. If that means that we wait and come back on the 2nd, I'm okay with that. I think that was the date that was thrown around. But if it's not spreading in school, then school is not contributing to the problem. The problem is being caused by what people are doing outside of school. So that's where I'm at.
Dr. Pabola, maybe you could answer this. Would we know this soon if it's was being spread by the kids being in school, or would that take a while before
We just
find
don't
out?
know yet.
Yeah.
We just can't tell yet because there's sporadic cases. So we don't know.
I mean, I'm thinking if the incubation period is, what, 2 to 14 days, it could be a while before we will know that.
Well, and that's why Monday is when we identified the issue. So
Yes.
December 1st is Tuesday. That gives us that 14-day time frame, which classically would, provide any incubation period for anybody to get symptomatic, any adults or kids.
Right.
And that's why I throw that out there, because it does dovetail nicely with the Thanksgiving holiday time frame.
So then we would know if these other individuals that were close contacts, if they start showing
Getting sick.
symptoms
Yes.
or signs.
That's right, and then you could
testing,
People tell us.
then you might would know if you see a cluster.
Right, we might. We're just early in this.
So the hypothetical, may I give a hypothetical? Because I think, Phil, what you're asking for is, and I'm going to pick a 7th grader. A 7th grader is positive and symptomatic. And the classmates around him within this 14-day period, if they become symptomatic and go to their doctor and get tested, then that's what we're going to identify as a cluster. But the only way to know that is to wait the 14 days.
Right.
So best practice and safe practice at this point right now, because remember, folks, this board said we're going to see what happens in our community and in our buildings. We have it in our buildings now. How it got there, Holly, we don't know. But the reality is the 14 days from this Monday will give us the time to gather more data. And I think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but at the same point, within those 14 days, you're going to have family get-togethers, a lot more social interaction in the public, so your data is going to be way skewed.
Let me, Nolan, please. Okay, this is an important issue. All I'm going to say is this. We've already had in the extracurricular activities, we talked about we can't control what the kids and the families do outside of this community, outside of our building. We, as a school board, aren't raising the kids. And you're right, over Thanksgiving, families may get together. But what we're trying to do is to protect and, how do I want to say this, prevent the clusters from happening in our buildings. And the best way to do that is, I think, what we've talked about here tonight. It's a very emotional issue. It's a very stressful issue. And I believe this board is trying to make the best decision for everyone involved. And that means the families that want their kids to go to school and be in the buildings for the hybrid. And then for the parents, remember, parents can always choose a hybrid. I'm sorry, they can always choose the cyber. Am I correct, Heather?
That's correct.
So at any time, if there's a parent that is concerned, they pull their child out of the hybrid model that we've maintained and put them into the cyber. So that option is there. And I believe what this board is saying, let's continue to look at the data and take the breather for the 14 days. And it might change. It might get worse. And we might have a board meeting then and say, hey, we can't do it. We're staying virtual. But at least it'll give us the 14 days from that infectious time.
Yes, sir.
There's some other factors here that I don't think the board can consider. You have, for instance, contractors and drivers that as you're going out for a week or two, these people aren't getting paid. They're done. They can't sign up. They can't do anything. So then maybe you open up for another week and things have to shut down. They work for a week and then you're not getting paid again. So you should take that into consideration. I also think that the data and the experts are predicting that this thing is going to continue to rise and get worse. I would encourage the board to consider that I agree that shutting down for 14 days is a good idea, but what's going to happen is I think we're going to find other cases that come back into the building. It could be worse. I would encourage the board to shut down for the first of the year and give this thing time to work its way through and to see what's really going on and not expose the kids and or the rest of the community with these clusters. Thank you.
And Noah?
I do hear a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of ignorance when it's questioned whether or not all the kids are clustered in a group. Not everybody's being tested. And that's the big thing I think that we're hearing across the board. Okay, one kid has it in a homeroom. Is it being documented that it's clustered in that homeroom? We don't know. And that's the scary part. We don't know. Because not every child is tested in that homeroom. So don't try to push your agenda, whatever it may be, to say, well, it's not a super spreader because nobody else in the classroom has it or doesn't has it. We don't know because not everybody in that classroom is tested. And again, this is my opinion, the kids are the silent spreaders. We really don't know. There's so much data out there that says one thing and data that says the other. And at the end of the day, nobody knows. And in my opinion, when it comes to the children, because I am on the front lines, and I do love, just like every teacher in this district does, loves and appreciates everything our kids have to do, and above education comes their safety. And since we do not know, it comes down to what we have to do, what is right to protect them. And we have to make the right decisions to just play it safe, do the best that we can, try our hardest with the cyber. I agree with the social and emotional well-being. Trust me, there is nobody who sees that truth more so than the teachers who are dealing with those children daily on a daily basis. We see it, we live it, we harbor all that pain for them daily. And we would love more than anything for everything to go back to normal. But just like all of us need to listen to the medical professionals on the front line, we all need to listen to the teachers on the front line who are doing and dealing with it daily. Because as painful as it is, we have to do what is the most safe and the most conscientious. Unfortunately, no one knows. Regardless if you're a doctor or the highest of educators or whatever it may be. We do not know. There is new data coming out all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize if I misunderstand, but isn't that kind of the point of the way you designed the school so that these kids are not the ones working in classrooms, they're stationary. So if there is an outbreak in a classroom, shake your head, I'm not listening.
I'm listening.
So if there is an outbreak, because as you said, you don't know all of it. I would assume all of you if there is a need. So the surgeon would be able to extract that section, this group of quarantine, without stopping education for 2,700 other odd students. So that's kind of part of the design. Am I correct in that?
You are correct. You are correct. And so
I do appreciate that up to this point you have taken a very non-dramatic approach. Like we had the case of the company, like okay, we checked it all out, good, instead of canceling everything. So, and I appreciate that this week is like a couple days, and so I appreciate that you're taking a step at a time slowly because you're still figuring things out.
we are, very much so.
So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you're still trying your best to get this break going. So it was all break needed, and the goal of that break, so I'm understanding correctly, is to just get more information, or to just kind of give it the 14-day
It's both.
It's both. It's both. But one of the things that Mary Jean just wrote me a note, and that I should remind folks. So it's, even though we're going to go remotely for the next 14 days, or through December 2nd. Okay, we're going to stay remote through December 2nd. First step. Okay, if we assess that we need to go further, then there'll be another meeting and we'll look at the data. But what parents, I encourage you to do so that we can gather the data that you're talking about is, even when your children are out there learning remotely, if you get a positive COVID test, please call us. I can't make you, but please call us, right? So that we can reach out to other families and we can reach out to the teachers. To Nolan's point, part of what happens though is that the children at the IC and the PC, they stay in the same place. So that contact tracing within that room is pretty simple. The problem is that the teachers move, okay? And so it exposes multiple teachers. And I think that when Nolan's talking about we don't know who's might be positive in the room, he's concerned about his colleagues who are going into that room and then going into another room. Right. So that's what I hear from him. But So there's another thing I want to just say to parents. Okay. Whatever choices you make over the holiday are yours, but you own those choices. And I really would encourage you to look at the new travel orders for the state of Pennsylvania, because we will be abiding by them. And it is our expectation that you want to keep people safe here and well here, so that you will understand that in making your choices. So that the new guidelines, as I understand them, and Jean, you correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you travel out of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it doesn't matter where, because I can't even go to Vermont, if you travel outside the Commonwealth, before you return, 72 hours before you return, within that time frame, you must have a negative test. If you do not have a negative test, then you must quarantine for 14 days upon your arrival home. Those are the new guidelines. That is correct. Okay. So I encourage all of you, if you're making a choice this Thanksgiving, and you are going to be with family members from outside your nuclear family, that you please check that out. I don't want anybody to be surprised. And I want us all to be well. And we have to work together in order to be together. That's the only way. It's the only way. So I just want to remind, and Mary Jean reminded me to remind all of you, please, if your child tests positive, please let us know, so that we can do our best and we can gather the data that we need to gather. And please check the travel restrictions and the travel orders that were issued yesterday. That's all I have.
And Heather, for the benefit of the community, because this is the first time that we're experiencing it, other districts have already done this. Mm-hmm. They have closed buildings for 48 hours. Best practices, close the building for a day, nobody's in. Second day, you clean it. Mm-hmm. Then they went back. Mm-hmm. Or, like we're deciding, they decided to go virtual for a time. And during that time frame, I mean, they still had business as usual. Teachers were teaching remotely. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that other districts have experienced this already, and they've succeeded in taking that, whether it's 48 hours or 14 days. There have been districts that gave it 2 weeks.
Yes.
For this exact reason, I believe.
And there are districts who have never even set foot in the door.
Right.
Right? We've tried, and we have come up with a good plan, and our teachers have rallied. And so they are to be commended, and we will continue to give it our best.
We have a motion regarding this?
I will make the motion that we stay closed until after the Thanksgiving vacation.
Okay.
Not closed.
Go virtual.
Go virtual.
Remote.
Virtual until
Second.
after Thanksgiving vacation, at which time the board will then make a decision according to data, whether we should return or not.
And I believe the date was tossed around December 2nd. My calendar is December 1st. Is
December
that
1st,
Tuesday?
correct, yes.
December 1st.
Okay.
Now, I want to make it clear to everybody that we're going to follow the school calendar. So while there are some vacation days scheduled in there, when you are learning remotely, you are expected to sign on, you are expected to do your work on Canvas. All right? The teachers will be working, and we expect you to be working as students. So follow the school calendar. When the holiday days are established, you're not expected to be online. Bill, there's some questions out there. I'm sorry.
There's assignments that are being turned in that teachers aren't getting. For some reason, students are getting zeros.
Okay.
The work that they've done in the process. Has that been addressed and has that been repaired?
Yes, well, we've climbed a steep learning curve on submissions. So if you're still experiencing problems, I encourage you to call, and I will hook you up with one of our tech people, okay?
But I haven't taken screenshots at this point because it's the only way to verify that they've done it.
Okay, so give me a call, and I'll have one of them reach out to you, okay? But what I understand from them is that those questions are being addressed and we're getting better at it. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
We have a second. Okay, any other discussion regarding it?
Yeah, is there gonna be another public meeting on that other vote? Will you guys go back and check it?
Yeah,
We'll have to. We'll have to.
We'll
You don't know when, though.
Bill, should we just schedule a meeting for December 30th in the evening?
That's the next thing we should do.
Okay.
Let's get this decided first. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion from the board?
That's to go virtual until the 1st of December?
We return, tentatively scheduled to return December 1st, which would be the normal after Thanksgiving return date.
Can you guys hear that? What the motion was? Make sure they understand.
I would, if somebody could just state it because it's very difficult to hear.
The motion is to go virtual until the end of the Thanksgiving vacation, returning in person on December 1st, Tuesday.
The motion, can you hear me, John? The motion is to go virtual through the 1st of December with a tentative return date of December 1st. Did you hear me?
It's going to go without me.
What did you say?
Sean, it's a tentative return date of December 1st, virtual until then.
Yes.
Is the motion.
Holly, can you say that again?
Virtual until December 1st, the tentative return of December 1st.
Okay.
And did Bob hear that? Do you know if Rob heard? Do you know if Rob heard that as well?
Rob.
Rob Perry.
Rob. Oh, Rob Perry. Did you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right. Let's take a roll call, please.
Rob Perry.
Heather, you're muted, so it's
I said yes.
picking up for you.
He said yes. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so we're doing a roll call. Right, I said yes.
3 times, I know. John Burke.
Yes.
Holly Arnold.
Yes.
Dr. Favola,
Yes.
Mr. Swilling,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes. Okay.
Mary Jean, can you unmute? Because now we can't hear anything because you're both muted.
I got it. Oh, no. Let me turn this off. Okay. Is that better?
Okay. Given that, Do we want to schedule a meeting so we can decide once we have the information at that point? We have a regular reorganization meeting on the 3rd of December, that's Thursday. Do we want to combine that, have one meeting right after that, or do we want to have a meeting before, earlier than that?
I think we need to have it before.
I would suspect so myself. So you want me
Before
first?
we would return. I think we'd have to have it before we return.
So it would have to be the 30th.
On Monday, 30th?
You guys are
I think we'll have a good handle on the data, obviously, by then. So, yeah, Monday the 30th. That's Monday after Thanksgiving.
Can you check with Holly, Rob, and John?
So can you guys, Holly, John, and Rob, can you meet on December 30th? November 30th? November 30th.
I can. My concern with waiting that long is we're planning on SHIP being virtual until the 1st. That doesn't give parents a lot of time to plan. We make that decision on a Monday night for Tuesday. So I know it's inconvenient, but I really think we need to be meeting that Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, because I just don't think it's fair to expect parents to put that plan in place in a few hours.
I would agree.
I agree with John.
Okay.
I am very willing to meet with you over the weekend. That's not a problem.
Agreed, I can be available any of those days, but I don't think we should wait until Monday night.
Okay.
Yeah, I think either Friday or Saturday would be the best.
Yeah, I sort of think Saturday because that'll give us as much data as we can and still give parents a couple of days. So it's that striking that balance.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, for me, I just want, but I agree.
Bill, do you know your schedule?
Okay, does that work for folks in the room?
Sure.
Saturday?
Saturday?
Yeah.
What time?
7?
7 works.
Saturday the
7 o'clock,
28th.
Saturday, 28th?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. 7 p.m. on Saturday.
11,
Is that okay?
28, correct?
Yes.
28.
November 28th.
11/28, it's 7 p.m.
Are we going to do it here or are we going to Zoom?
Let's do it here.
Okay.
I mean, if things change, then we'll.
Well, right, I mean, as of now.
Yes.
Just checking.
I have a question, Heather.
Hmm?
Is this gonna put our
What was that?
winter
We're gonna meet
sports
at the
on hold,
Moose?
correct?
I missed that.
The auditorium.
What did you say?
She said, where are we going to be?
We're going to be in the auditorium. Is that okay? Okay.
Okay, so my question is, this is gonna cancel winter sports, well, not cancel them, but they won't be able to start their season on time, correct?
Well,
Because doesn't it start Friday?
not necessarily because we're virtual.
Okay,
And extracurriculars have in other districts all through the fall sports that they've happened.
right, so what are we gonna decide to do?
Well, I think I'm going to propose that we do continue with the practices. I think the first day for competition is December 15th or 16th, Todd? Yeah, so I think as long as we're virtual, the PIAA allows that the sports teams can go. We're still going to practice our mitigation. Our coaches are still going to, clean. We'll have, I believe, Mr. Shapolsky will be able, just like he did with this fall sports, clean the bathrooms as long as we get that on the schedule. I think there may be an issue though with over the holidays with staff. So I think right now, if we're going to virtual for these couple of weeks, and correct me if I'm wrong, Thanksgiving Day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are going to be closed.
And Mondays are custodial holidays.
Mondays,
We'd
okay.
have to take a look at that closer, yes. That would be, would not be custodial to the building.
Okay.
It's already planned. Rules, but it's not. That would happen. Just to let you know, so cancel that.
That would cancel the scrimmage, that's right. And I believe our staff, we're tight on staff. So I'm going to propose to the board that we allow the extracurriculars like we have in the fall, even though we're virtual. PIAA didn't come out and cancel anything today. They made some recommendations. I will say that the Department of Health, Gene, help me out, they recommended masks at all time when you're out. I'm going to tell you that I think PIAA is going to seek clarification on that, because as a physician, I just don't see a kid running up and down the court with a mask on his or her face. Obviously, the kids can't wear the masks in the pool. And the wrestlers, I just don't see them out there wrestling. I believe there's obviously pluses and minuses to mask, but taxing yourself, getting your heart rate, your respiratory system up during exercise, I just don't see the need for a mask. However, I think the PIAA is going to seek clarification from the governor's office on that. So that's my recommendation to the board, that we proceed with the extracurriculars with the exception of those holidays where we will not have staff to clean. So Thanksgiving until Tuesday, there will be no organized practices or sports because of janitorial services.
That will be coming in here on that Saturday, so I assume somebody's going to unlock the door?
Yeah, we'll be able to do
take care
that.
of it. This is easy compared to like 3 or 4 gyms.
Sure.
This is, yeah, we can do this.
Laura, you had a question?
And I'm going to,
No, I agree with what Bill's proposing.
one other thing, and I think it has to be mentioned because I've spoken to several coaches. I'll just say that we are virtual and education is number one. So there is, in my opinion, and please jump in there, any sports practices will be after the regular school hours. I would not recommend that a coach comes in and says, hey, I have access to the gym at 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Education is number one. So we're going to practice as if the kids are in school that day. And I guess what time do they usually start? 3 o'clock, 3:15, something like that. So I would just say, because then I think that'll be easier for Mr. Shapolsky to schedule cleanings of the bathrooms and things like that, as opposed to a scattered schedule.
Okay, do we need a vote, official vote to,
It doesn't really change the
okay.
The plan is still in
So we
effect.
just leave it at that, but we're not changing it?
Okay.
Okay. All right. We go on to new business. The visa account is there for your review, as well as the monthly summary of the Kelly Services substitute teacher fill rate. I noticed they're down a little bit. Looking for a resolution to approve bus and van contracts.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. Heather, can you do the Zoom, folks?
Sure. Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold,
Which number is this? I'm sorry.
number 3, under new business.
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Hold on 1 second. I'm over in my pajamas to address this.
Hold up, we're in the middle of a vote.
Mr. Perry.
Did I just hear correctly?
Hang on, we're in the middle of a vote.
I know, but it's the vote I'm going to try to tell.
I don't think it is. I think what's going to happen.
Bus and van contracts?
Because I think I heard on the YouTube that you guys were saying, for the safety of the students, we're closing the school and going virtual for 14 days. Because the health and safety of these students is important. But they can still play sports during their 14 days. But education is still the most important.
It is.
That doesn't make any sense. How is it safe for playing sports? Some support for masks, learning. How is that safer? Doctor, I just heard you say when you're in the pool you can't wear a mask. But we're going to keep up the sports. Well, we have to close and put them virtual for their education. You went against what you said. Education is up first. This is too dangerous. We need 14 days. So we're going to put them virtual. Unless it's sports, then it's not so dangerous. That can't happen. You can't wear masks or plane. But hey, it's okay because nobody plays sports when it's right? That makes no sense. So when we take this vote, no, that's allowed. And if you can't tell, highly objection.
Okay, where were we?
We didn't vote on that.
We're on the bus and van contracts, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Mr. Swilly?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes, the bus van contract?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Okay. Item 4, approve payment to Postler and Jekyll Corp. An amount of $15,600 for work performed on air handlers and admin center gym.
Do we know what was performed? Or
Can we?
was there new?
I don't know what it was to fix it. I know that he needed to fix it to bring it up to code. I don't know exactly what was done. I'm sure John could answer that for you.
Yeah, I know that it was only one unit just barely working.
Yeah, so we wanted to get it fixed to bring it up to code.
All right, motion to approve.
Yep, that's correct.
Second?
Right.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yep.
Number 4. Mr. Perry, number 4. Mr. Burke, number 4.
Yes.
Mr. Perry, can you hear me?
He might be muted.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Mr. Swilly?
No.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Looking for resolution to approve career and technology student organizations of otherships for the FBLA, FCCLA, FFA, and Skills USA on page 66.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. Heather, can you do the Zoom?
I'm sorry. Mrs. Arnold, number 5,
Yes.
number 5. Mr. Burke, number 5.
Yes.
Mr. Perry, number 5.
I think we lost her.
I think he's muted.
Mrs. Bennett?
Sometimes when you're connected by phone, you have a problem coming off of mute, so my guess is he can't get it off of mute.
Yeah, I was just trying to see. Can you get him off, Mary Jean? Can you try?
How about now?
Yeah.
He said, I can hear you. I voted yes.
Okay, I voted yes to both things.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Swilly?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Item 6, looking for a resolution to approve Conrad Siegel actuaries for the 2020 ACA employer reporting.
This is a yearly thing, right?
Yes, it is.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Arnold?
We're on number 6, correct?
Yes, number 6. Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Swilly?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes. Item 7, looking for a resolution to approve an MOU between the district and the Support Personnel Association.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is this,
This is the extension, right?
Yes.
For 1 year?
so it's a 1-year extension, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Swilly?
Yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Yes.
Mr. Farquhar.
Yes. Item 8, looking for resolution to commit resources on the financial statement for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020, in the amount of $2,500,000 for the purpose of future PESER's rate increases.
How much more is this gonna go up?
Good question, Bill.
Do we have a motion? It commits it on the statement, it doesn't necessarily pay anything.
I didn't hear what Bill
It's
said.
an accounting thing.
So this is just accounting?
This is just an accounting thing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
We don't have much of a choice, right?
No, there is no
No.
choice. This is done yearly.
Right, it's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Went from being reasonable to
Yes.
someone's holding a gun to our head.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Gregory.
Yes.
Dr. Pergola.
Yes.
Mr. Swilling.
Unfortunately, yes.
Mrs. Bennett.
Unfortunately, yes.
Mr. Whitehead.
Same remark, unfortunately, yes.
Mr. Farquhar.
Yes. Okay, item 9. We have a representative from the tax collectors.
Connie.
Yes, please.
Yes. You're not turned on. Hang on. I can't hear you.
Todd will turn you on, I think, or the microphone. But maybe Chuck will. It's on now.
That'll wake you up.
Now,
Yellow wave.
You wanna-
Good Lord.
Come on down.
Here, she could use this.
Check, 1, 2.
There they go.
Oh, wait, we fixed it.
Perfect. There you go, good, thank you.
Good
evening. My name is Connie Lawrence. I am president of the Wyoming County Tax Collectors Association, and we are up for election. The Tunkhannock Area School District Tax Collectors are up for election in 2021. Our compensation has to be set by February 15th of 2021. Our association met in October. We discussed our compensation, and we all agreed that we are not asking for any increase. We're not asking for any decrease, but we are satisfied with what we're getting for the past 4 years, and we would accept the same compensation for the next 4 years. So I don't know if there's any discussion or question.
We have a question?
No, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Okay,
Thank you. That's the end of the agenda. Are there any additional public comments or questions? Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
I just think our turn is important. Kind of spot on. I mean, I understand, you know, all of those rules and that they continue with some ball, but we're shutting down the school for kids. And you're still out for kids that wearing masks. What? Yet you want to shut down everything else in the works with violence and great. I mean, it's kind of a slap in the face to the students that want to be here and be in person, but you're making them go virtual because of COVID, and that's understandable. And but to allow the sports, it's kind of a big concept. I think if you question the public people on that, they probably would frown on it.
Well, let me answer. I appreciate the input. There's no doubt about it. And we're going to go back to the fall sports. because this issue came up not only in our district, but other districts. So what we did, we followed the health and safety guidelines outlined by PIAA and what we came up with. So what we did in the football and the girls volleyball, I believe the soccer, we set up all the cleaning stations. We sanitized all of the items that were used. We practiced and we encouraged our coaches to practice in small cohorts, keeping the kids apart. So it's very different. We had this discussion already. It's very different than in a classroom with 15 kids and not, I guess, having the interaction. The issue with the masks, when the kids are sprinting, that's the only time that I feel, and we have to get clarification from the governor's office through PIAA, that it would be an unsafe situation for a kid to be sprinting or exerting him or herself. But other than that, masks have to be worn. And that's what we did in all the fall sports. So what I'm trying to say is that even though the school district is virtual, the small cohorts of the sports teams, as long as they're practicing our safe guidelines, we feel it's appropriate, or I feel it's appropriate. So I guess what I'm saying is we've had this discussion already in the fall, and these issues came up, and I'm just saying that we're answering them the best we can right now.
It's a little different now.
Yeah.
It's a here inside building. I coached varsity basketball for a number of years. I coached junior high basketball here and varsity basketball Black Pond Trail. So I feel like I could speak on this a little bit more understanding. These kids are, especially on the basketball court, they are exerting a lot of energy. They're rather sprinting or not. And basketball is a close contact sport. It's hard practice. And you keep 6 feet social distancing. You can't teach the sport that way. I don't think until we find out where we're at, shutting the athletic department down for 14 days is going to hurt players or the coaches. Not to mention, I think we're losing itself over criticism. For, on one hand, you need to shut the building down, and on the other hand, it's okay to play sports. Education is the priority. Education is the priority, not sports. Thank you.
On that same note, I wrestle local baseball. I wrestle football. There's no physically possible way you're going to turn that down wrestling or social distance. Not possible. So that was one sport. Along with swimming, you're going to be in school. You're not going to have that. You're going to be getting in and out of the pool. You're going to be talking on the team. And I believe me, I'm a pro person through and through. I think sports go hand in hand with education. But it's kind of a double-headed sword. You can't allow one thing and not the other.
And I think you're saying this is discussing at all, it's all we're saying we're going to do virtual. Because it's not like we're appropriate, and it's not something. We need to see what's going on. In the fall, it was, we're going to do the hybrid, we're going to do the best we can, we're going to take all the precautions. And yeah, in sports, we're going to do the best we can, we're going to take all the precautions. Now, as far as education, our best precautions just aren't good enough right now. We have to take a 14-day break. But as far as sports, best precautions are only.
Bill, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What do we currently have going on now? Because I know we're kind of in between seasons. Is it practice?
It's only practices right now. So we're talking about the boys basketball, Todd, help me out. Boys basketball, girls basketball, wrestlers,
swimming.
And the swimming.
And have they all already started?
Swimming's been in the pool a couple of times. Wrestlers have not started like in the meets in the wrestling room yet. Basketballs, they've been on the court a couple of times.
Can I make one statement?
Yes.
I'm biased, so I'm just going to put that out there. Everybody's all from the JV basketball coach. And some of the opinions mentioned by you guys, I actually see a lot of validity and presentation. The only thing I'll say, as a physician by trade, I'm not medical by nature. Right? So they get the data that's out there right now from the University of Wisconsin, and they did a study where they called all 30,000. They contacted every school district in the state of Wisconsin during an outbreak. Wisconsin has a clear outbreak of people right now. They checked out 30,000 student athletes who play sports. And during fall sports, they were only able to find one case that was attributable to playing sports. Not only that, children and the athletes who played sports were less likely to have COVID than the people who didn't play sports. So if you just go based on data alone, and I understand there's a lot of other opinions which I think are very valid, and I'm not trying to go against that, but if we're really truly talking about sports and risk of COVID, the best data that's come out in the last 2 weeks on this has been that sports and athletes who play sports are less COVID risk than their peers. So, I would just take that as part of your decision making. Look at that, because I think there is some rationale for continuing sports team in the setting.
I appreciate the conversation. We're not talking now, we're talking about outdoor activities which were promoted and considered safer to going indoor in confined areas, especially in wrestling. Those are like songs. I wrestled in high school. It's like a song. And the basketball court. I know it's like out there when those athletes get going, the respiratory goes up, the pressure goes up, blood pressure, heartbeat. It's part of what happens. I don't think 14 days until the board has time and the other has time to really see where we're at, see what's going on. It's going to hurt the athletic program. But it could help us, to keep our athletes safe.
We're going to have to ask for information in regards to sports as the state needs to do in regards to education.
Well, everybody's looking at me. It's not my decision. I'll certainly, listen, I agree with Dr. Williams. I agree with the community. I think there's some valid points on both sides. There's no argument about that. It's a risk-benefit reward. The Wisconsin study, Dan, you're exactly right. There were 237 positive cases. One was related to the athlete. So that's out of 30,000 student athletes. And that's the most recent quote-unquote study. Obviously, we're not making decisions based on Wisconsin. We're making decisions based on Tunkhannock. I'll just say that it's, if we want to discuss it more, if we want to put it to a vote, I'm fine with that as well. Mr. President, what would be your pleasure? So this way it's not a decision that I make. I feel the way I feel, but I'm hearing valid points on both sides. If you want, I'll make a motion.
Holly has a question.
What other activities or events? We're talking honestly about what? Friday? Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at most. Wednesday would have been an early dismissal. So Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. What events besides sports practices would have been going on after school?
Todd, what events would be going on other than?
So right now we would look at the facilities could be open for practices tomorrow, Friday, Saturday for a window of time. Would be Monday after school, so to speak, Tuesday after school, and generally on early release day we would allow again a window of time. On Wednesday and Thursday would be off. Friday, Saturday we have to clarify whether we can get a custodian here. Sunday no, and Monday. So what? 6
days.
Practice days basically.
So there'd be 6 practice days, Holly. I don't believe that there is anything else on our event calendar. If there is,
I think there was some scrimmage. I think
Isn't it like any bands, play, practice, anything like that? That's also effective.
There's play rehearsals that are scheduled.
there are play rehearsals that are scheduled, but other than that, I'm not aware. Todd, are you aware of any?
I don't really counter that well. If that's going to be, I'd have to find out, but that sounds accurate.
Yeah.
I would just say that whatever we decide to do with extracurriculars is extracurriculars as a group. So if we're going to allow practices for, wrestling, then if there are other groups that want to still have their practices after school or rehearsal or whatever you want to call it, that
We can't really understand her.
with equity.
We're hearing it twice, so we can't.
What she's saying is that if we are to discontinue athletic practices, then all other practices should be discontinued as well.
I would agree with that.
Me too.
Well, do we have a motion to continue with athletics as current or to suspend them?
Was the athletics talk brought up after that vote for going virtual? So the athletics should have a separate vote, correct?
Yes.
Just so it's straight in my mind.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Bosher? Just the official Wyoming Valley Conference sports season starts for swimming and wrestling December 15th or 16th.
Well, competition, the season starts this Friday, the opening for
Okay.
practice, so the competitive starts on
Okay. But PIAA met today and they only brought up the mask issue. They didn't make any alterations to the season.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
They didn't post anything like that.
I didn't see anything. Okay.
Do we have a motion to continue the sports? Or do we have a motion to suspend them?
What's the motion?
He's asking for a motion. There is no motion on the floor.
So then what do we do?
Well, again, it makes no difference to me, but I think as long as it's consistent for everybody, if we're not in the actual season yet, it might just be easier if the goal is to shut the buildings down for 14 days to do that. But I also don't have a problem having sports as practices as long as then the play can also practice if they want to, or whoever else, is involved.
And obviously it's voluntary. So parents can keep students out if they so choose.
Sure.
Because that was the discussion that we've had at the extracurricular level in the fall, or in the, summer.
So what Bill is saying is that when you participate in sports or you participate in the play, that those are voluntary. You're signing up to do that.
Right. So is there a motion to suspend extracurricular, including sports and other activities?
Bill is asking if there is a motion to suspend athletics and extracurricular activities.
I'm not hearing one.
If we don't have a vote either
No, but I
way,
think we
then
do
what's
also
going to
put a
happen?
disclaimer out there that any parents who do withhold their kids from these activities won't be, what's the word I'm looking for? There won't be
Penalized.
consequences on the team. Like they can't hold it against a kid or a family that chooses not to participate during this time when school has gone virtual.
Okay, we're not getting a motion, so there's nothing to vote on.
So where do we stand then?
So extracurricular continue as they have up to now.
So
Same
you're gonna-
policy in place.
So as it stands that they're going to have practice?
They can practice, yes.
So if I may ask, okay, and I this is the first time I heard of any other what other extracurriculars are out there besides?
I think
maybe
there's.
I'm missing something.
I believe there's cheer tryouts,
Okay.
maybe Thursday and Friday.
And what about this?
I'm not
play?
100% sure on the day. I know it's 2 days.
And what about the play?
The play is going to be a radio production, so there is not going to be, and it's going to be broadcast as a
Okay.
radio production. It was written as that. So they are practicing. They practice in the library in small groups. But they're socially distant, and that was the reason he chose this particular.
And they've been doing that obviously except for the last 48 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
If I speak, can I be heard
Before school open, correct?
Yes, John, go ahead.
Yes, John, you can be heard.
Okay. I'm sort of torn on this issue. My personal feeling is if it's unsafe to have kids in the classroom, we should generally err away from sports until we see where the data settles out. There are some vast differences between it due to the scope and scale and number of people involved. And so if there were a case, the contact tracing is a little bit simpler than what it is in a classroom. And as folks have said before, the data currently shows, while different, there are closer contacts with obviously wrestling and basketball than what you get with an outdoor activity like football or something like that. We did successfully get through the volleyball season, and so we do have a case where we have that indoors. But I think we just need to really give this some thought ongoing. I'm really on the fence about whether we should be doing this and shutting schools down for the next few days here. The loss that we'd have would be a few days of practice, and so we're not talking about scrapping the season or anything like that. I think it'd be more in response to the county numbers than it is the risk of playing sports and the extracurricular activities, just based on where Wyoming County numbers are right now. So anyway, that's my opinion on it. It's been very hard to follow the conversation, so if I repeated anything that anybody said, I apologize. I just can't hear what's happening in the background.
I too am torn on this, John, and the board. I understand what everybody's saying, and I want to make sure that we're making the right decision. I firmly believe, and we've had this discussion already at length in the summer when we were going into the fall. The coaches are practicing all the questionnaires, the temperature testing. You know, when the kids were going to school, we brought up at the extracurricular level that there's 2 questionnaires given for the athletes, not just one. Now we're going virtual, so there's still going to be the questionnaire given to all the athletes. The coaches are going to be monitoring the athletes. I understand that there's a new mask policy from the state or the recommendation, and we're going to get clearance on that. PIAA had a meeting today and did not pull the plug on athletics or postpone seasons. However, I also understand the safety issue and postponing the practices. I got to tell you, I'm completely torn on this because I understand the benefits, as Dr. Williams said, the benefits of extracurriculars and not just sports, the extracurricular activities and monitoring the small groups and contact tracing. However, we are as a district trying to make the best decision possible for the next 13 days. I guess what I'll say right now is that I've changed my mind. And I hear what John is saying. I hear what the community is saying. And I will say that since the sports programs don't really start until December 15th, maybe it is best that we practice 100% as safe an environment as possible. And our extracurriculars should be put on hold until we go back on, or consider going back on December 1st.
There are other districts doing that, though.
I understand that, and I understand we're making the decision for Tunkhannock, so I don't want to be hypocritical, and I'm hearing the community. I'm not silly to this. We want to make the best decision. So that's all I have to say about that.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion that we suspend extracurriculars until we go back on December 1st, or until the board meeting on Saturday night.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so Bill has made a motion that we suspend extracurriculars, all extracurriculars, until we meet on that Saturday night, and we look at the numbers again and make a decision December 1 going forward. That is the motion on the floor, and it was seconded by Mr. White. Okay.
I think that's wise.
Okay.
Anybody else have a discussion or comment? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes.
Mr. Perry. Rob, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes.
Dr. Favola?
Yes.
Mr. Swilling?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett? Mrs. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes. So, motion passes. We'll be suspending extracurricular until we meet on the last Saturday in November.
And then I'll suggest on Saturday we come up with an extracurricular meeting, because going into this, we're going to have a gazillion questions, and maybe there'll be more information from the PIAA concerning the mask issue to get clarification. Once again, I'm just going to say that everything is back up in the air like it was for the fall sports season. So there was a delay. There's no right or wrong answer. I think the community's hearing that this board is trying to make the best decision, and there's two polar ideals out there. The one is we go to school and don't worry about anything, and the other one is stay at home. And it's very difficult, and I believe that anyone in the community that says that this board and this administration doesn't care about kids and safety and staff is disrespectful. Because I will tell you, for me personally, these are very long meetings. We're putting a lot of time and energy into this. There's a lot of phone calls, and I will say that the administration, now with the contact tracing, that they're consumed with these things. So I just want to thank my board counterparts for all the effort, and of course the administration, the staff, and the community. We're trying to make the best decision we can, folks. It's not easy.
When do you want to have the extracurricular meeting?
Can we decide on Saturday night?
Same day.
We could schedule it before the board meeting?
No, I'm saying that.
He wants to look at it and then schedule that evening.
Well, so the only other thing too is we can have an extracurricular meeting at 6:30. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Is Rob okay with that? 6:30?
Rob, are you okay with doing an extracurricular meeting on
11/28.
11/28 at 6:30 prior to the board meeting at 7?
I'm sorry. We're going to have to make a decision from a board standpoint then before the extracurricular can't make a decision if the school board doesn't make their decision.
So it's going to be after.
So what I'm trying to say is I think the extracurricular has to be, because if the data supports that,
right,
we'll just say on Saturday night we're going to remain closed or virtual. I mean, it depends on the data.
So we will decide on the 28th when we would have an extracurricular meeting.
Right, depending on the data, because obviously if the board acts one way, we might have to.
Okay, and Rob, it would be because Bill thinks that the board needs to look at the data and make a decision on where we're going post December 1st. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Okay.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Just,
When you said you were in the middle of the vote, having listened to YouTube on the way up here, I thought we were voting on that particular issue, and I wanted to be ready for the vote. And I just had a situation, and I just want to apologize to the entire board for interrupting this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Question adjourned? Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.